So we're rolling. We're hot.
Can you turn up my snare?
Your snare.
That's a joke, sorry. It was a drummer joke just for Caleb since he's not here.
Gotcha. More snare bell, huh?
Yeah, more snare bell.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Shiftless. Happily coming to you semi-live from Casa Verde on a Wednesday morning as appropriate.
There's an ant on my microphone.
Yeah, it just ran up your cable from. I saw it running up the table.
All right, we're going to let him be for a minute.
It's on this side and coming up here.
Oh.
I think it's attracted to your cinnamon buns.
Cinnamon. All right. Well, our buddy Caleb can join us today. Big sad. Big sad. Once again being held down by the man.
Fight the man. Fight the power.
We did get the privilege of riding with him last night.
That was fun.
Yeah. I titled my Strava TNBG Shiftless Edition.
Shiftless Edition.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find a way to make that a regular thing and incorporate, not a podcast per se, but just our idiocracy of ourselves.
Yeah, did you have a chance to look at that footage from last night?
A bit of it.
Did you get the video of me hopping that tree?
I believe so.
Okay. I'm curious to see that.
I definitely got the video of Caleb eating it there.
Perfect.
So that's the important part.
That is the important part.
So
I was going to look and see what the wind. I didn't realize it was going to be so windy today. 18 to 27.
From the south?
From the south.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect because are we still riding today?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
All right.
Day.
All right.
I do need to.
You're going to follow my commands for the ride today.
Oh, shit.
We're going to talk about this.
Okay. All right. I don't like, you
don't like being bossed around.
Especially not in my hood.
But you were bitching last night, so we got to fix your bitching.
I wasn't bitching. What was I bitching?
You
I
were
don't remember that.
I'm tired. I'm overtrained. I've been doing too much.
That's not how the conversation went that I recall.
Okay. I will pull those snippets then because I do have the audio.
I was just talking about I think that I need to take more than one day off every 13 or 14 days.
Understood.
Yeah.
I understand. That's and you're going to take a day off today. But
no, I'm going to ride my bike today.
And you're going to take a day off.
Okay.
I'm going to show you how to do a rolling rest day.
Okay.
Because we had a good ride last night.
We did.
We had
good.
We got. I wouldn't say we burned a bunch of matches, but I
got 35 miles in last night. That's not bad.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot y'all had your hot lap on the front end of that.
Hot lap.
It was hot. It was hotter than hell.
It was hot. Yeah. But it was kind of nice. We had a headwind on the way out for the hot lap, which was honestly keeping us cooler. And then we had a tailwind on the way back, so it wasn't awful.
Gave you a little bit of a push.
Yeah, but you had to outrun that tailwind just so you could cool off a little bit. So
understood. It's a balancing. What do you recall what your average heart rate for the whole ride was? Did you see? Were you able to see that data?
140.
See, yeah. See, you're.
Hold up. Stand by.
Yeah. So mine worked out to 134 for my average, which I'm shooting for 130. Right. I'm still trying to do that first 6-week block of establishing the base.
Yeah.
And but we threw enough spice in the mix last night.
141.
141.
Max heart rate 164.
Okay, so
70% in zone 2.
So today's a good day to do a rolling rest day. Okay. I'm going to teach you how to do that. It's good for you.
I can always learn new tricks.
I understand.
I was going to, because I woke up thinking about, where am I going to take Kevin today? And I thought we'd ride down to Canyon Falls and show you Canyon Falls.
How far is that from here?
I think a round trip, if we go down there and ride the whole trail and come back, it's like 15, 16. If we do, I normally, when I go down there and I'm trying to get a ride in instead of just a spin, I'll go down there and ride both pieces of the trail twice, and it's like right at 20.
Let's save that for next week.
Okay.
Let's save that for next week.
That's fair.
Maybe we'll find a way to drag Caleb out here one way or another.
We gotta figure out how to work with his schedule.
I know.
I don't like him not being here, but we're not gonna whine about that.
Not whining. Got to make it work. So
I would love to say he's in a better place, but
he is not.
Definitely not.
He's not. Yeah, he was like describing his work environment last night. It's like, that's like my worst case scenario.
Yeah. That's like literally the whole reason that I avoided corporate America as much as I could and worked, in a kitchen.
Something to be said for that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you got the computer fired up now.
Computer's fired up.
What
There's
are we
nothing in the sandbox.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I hadn't even had a chance to look around. Oh.
Any bike news that popped up that caught your attention the past week that you recall?
Not really, man.
Okay.
I did want to touch on something just to give a follow-up. Not that anybody would have second-guessed this, but I am still head over heels in love with my Garmin. The solar function, I'm to the point where, and Caleb said it the other day, and so I got to give him credit, but he said he's not going to buy any more electronics that don't have solar functions just because of how awesome they are. I think his new watch, and I don't know how new it is, but it's also a Garmin, and it has a solar function on it. And he said something to the effect of if he only uses it for a watch function, it doesn't like record any data or anything crazy like that, that thing will last 36 days on a single charge.
I believe it.
Yeah.
My lovely bride has the solar Garmin, but I think it's the Instinct. So one of the lower ones from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Basically, hers is good for a month for the stuff she does.
Yeah.
So.
And my son has a Garmin, I don't know what it's called, Forerunner or Phoenix or something that he doesn't wear anymore because he doesn't run. And I think I'm going to start wearing that just because I've gotten away from wearing a watch. My Apple Watch was outdated and it wouldn't sync up with my phone, so I kind of quit wearing it. Plus, it would
planned obsolescence.
Yeah, and I would also have to charge it like every other day. It was just a pain in the ass.
Understood.
But I would like to have just throughout the course of my day just a running reference of my heart rate just to see kind of where I am, especially as I intend to continue gaining fitness. I'd like to start seeing my heart rate get back down to where it used to be. I know it won't get as low as it used to be, but I used to have a ridiculously low resting heart rate, which was borderline scary at some point. I mean, I'd be driving down the road and look down and my heart rate would be in the low 30s. So.
And what's it at currently?
I don't know, 60s.
Okay.
In the 60s.
Okay.
But
I bet it's lower than that. You just haven't checked your rest. But I could be wrong.
Maybe.
I doubt it's in the 30s.
No.
I doubt it's in the 30s.
I doubt it at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if you're in the 50s. Because, your riding every day is working for you. I can assure you of that. And that's one of those things that, the long-term training, it's really, really tough to put a stake in the ground and go, oh, here's my progress. I see what I'm accomplishing. It doesn't work that way.
That's kind of like losing weight. You look in the mirror every day and it seems like there's no progress, but you wait 6 weeks or 2 months and you can see the progress.
Right.
I get it. It's just, like I said, I've been getting on the bike every day. My legs are tired, and I think I'm also not eating enough. But
that could very well be.
Yeah.
But there's some touchstones you can do along the way. Yes, over time you will see your resting heart rate goes down.
Mm-hmm.
But at least from the actual training perspective, the best way to benchmark it, like we were talking last night, it's blocks of 6 weeks is kind of what you work in. It takes 6 weeks to see a noticeable shift, and that's if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing during those 6 weeks. I mean, the best way to do it is to throw a benchmark in there where every 6 weeks you do the same ride at the same effort and see what your progress is.
Yeah.
So if today you do a ride for 60 minutes at 130 beats per minute or 140, whatever your number happens to be, and you go 15 miles in that ride, 6 weeks from now, you do the same ride at the same intensity, and you go 16 miles. Well, then you're able to, there's the progress I made.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the course of time. But the reality is, from 6 weeks to the next 6 weeks, in the middle, you're really not going to know. You're not going to know the difference. You might go, man, this isn't working. I'm feeling tired or whatever, or I'm not. Where I used to be able to keep up with this guy, I'm not keeping up with that guy anymore. Well, you know what? Maybe that guy's on a pretty good training plan too.
Yeah.
So
I want to be a superhero.
You are a superhero.
But I want to be now.
Now. It doesn't work that way. Training's like cooking, but over super, super long term.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I kind of had just fallen off. I was getting to where I was only riding like once or twice a week, and I still wanted to get out and ride like I used to.
You'll get there.
I know, but I was just being foolish with myself. How about Olympics? Have you watched any of the Olympics?
Not a moment of it.
Man, the men's cross-country race was pretty epic. Tom Pidcock and I can't remember the guy from France. I can't remember how to say his name. They were battling for first and second, and Pidcock made a pass at the very end and made it stick, and it was pretty impressive. I thought there was going to be some contesting the finish because there was some incidental contact. Pidcock chose an alternate line. It was basically the trail split, and you could go around this tree to the left or around the tree to the right. Pidcock chose the left and put in a nice little punch, and the Frenchie, for lack of his name, came back and kind of made contact with Pidcock because Pidcock was holding his line and inadvertently unclipped, so his momentum got robbed from him, and that's how and it was pretty close to the finish.
Pidcock unclipped or the French guy unclipped?
The Frenchie.
Okay.
So,
just making sure I understand. I saw some allusion to some sort of, I wouldn't call it a controversy, but something. So
USA gold in men's cross country and silver
in the women's.
Yeah.
I saw the headlines, but that's all I'd seen. Now,
and while we're on men's cross country, we got to give a shout out to third place, bronze.
Okay.
South Africa, just for my buddy Get It.
Okay.
He was pretty fired up about them getting third. That's pretty badass. I can't remember the last time South Africa was even in the conversation as far as men's cross country.
I mean, when was the last time the United States was in the conversation for men's cross country?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I wish I could just recall off the top of my head, but I can't.
Don't think it's recent memory, but I could be mistaken on that.
I think Pidcock was a contender last time, was he not?
Possibly. And
I'll dive real quick while you ramble.
And I don't have my Googleizer in front of me, so I could be misstating some basic facts. I'm going to pretend I'm Brad at the moment.
We didn't have oh yeah, we did. Hold up. Here it is.
So that's kind of where I was going. My understanding is we barely had cross country in this Olympics. UCI had to intervene. I believe they had taken.
Oh well, I'm sorry. Tom Pidcock's Great Britain.
That's what I thought. I didn't want to step on that.
Yeah, he got first last year as well.
Last Olympics, you mean?
Yeah, my bad.
Okay. And maybe they were talking about Los Angeles in 2028. Maybe that's what the reference was. But that had to be because it was too close to time for the Paris Olympics. But mountain biking was not going to be part of the Olympics anymore.
Why?
The Olympic Committee was saying that. I mean, they're taking out a lot of their added sports that have come on in the past 20 years, 20, 30 years.
But they still have speed walking?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. They're winnowing down. They were winnowing down back to the basics.
Winnowing?
Is that
a
the
real
word?
Is that a real word?
I don't know. You've got the Google eyes.
I don't even know how to look that up. I don't think that's a real word. I'm just going to go with no.
Okay.
But I could see there's
Culling?
I could see there's a lot of cost involved in hosting a cross-country race, especially in Paris. Just securing the permits and the insurance and, putting up all the markers and marking the course and all the flyers.
Building the course.
Yeah. I mean, all the cost involved, whereas it is relatively zero cost for them to host a walk race or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the issue. I don't know if cost to the host is the issue or if it's just I can't. Yeah, there was reference that I saw in the cycling media earlier this year that was talking about that UCI had to intervene and get cross-country mountain bike racing back in the mix. I think BMX is out, and I think downhill is out.
Well, skateboarding is still in.
Okay.
Which is
maybe it's Los Angeles in 2028 that it was referenced when I saw that.
That sucks.
So we'll see. I'll do some proper research.
I'm on the official Olympics.com page.
Okay.
So let me see.
I'm gonna have to start bringing my MacBook so I can be cool and play with the Google when we're talking.
USA only has 4 gold medals as it sits right now, and China has 8. We are in 7th place as far as medals go. We have a total of 27 medals, but only 4 of the ones that
So
really
we're not
count.
getting a bunch of free Big Macs this time around. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think so. I don't know how all that stuff works.
No, I don't know that it does.
I wouldn't eat a Big Mac even if it was free.
I mean, that was, what was it, 1980 or 84 or whatever, when Russia boycotted the Olympics, so we won everything, but that was the year McDonald's had.
I don't know if they boycotted the Olympics. Wasn't that in the cheating scandal? All that?
I think that one was a boycott, but I may be misremembering. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
They weren't there.
Yeah. You have watched that what was the name of that movie? The one that was all about the Russian cheating scandal, the doping scandal.
I don't think I have
If you haven't watched
seen the movie, but I'm familiar with the details around it.
Oh, it's worth watching. It it starts as one movie and turns into a completely different movie. It starts as
So this is a documentary, or this is a dramatic movie?
it's a documentary.
Okay.
Dadgummit, what is the name of this movie?
This won't be part of your training regimen. So
No, Icarus.
I've heard of it. I
Yeah.
have not.
Definitely should watch it. So it starts out, the premise is this guy had trained for, it was some European multi-stage race that really wasn't on my radar, that I'd never heard of. And he fancies himself, he's a borderline pro-level cyclist. I may be misrepresenting a little bit of this.
Okay.
But he did not do near as well as he anticipated doing. So he planned to do a very structured doping program for an entire year and do it the right way with the guidance of a doctor and, follow the science, so to speak, and then go back and race this race and see how he fared against his previous results, obviously. So he ended up doing a bunch of research, and he found his way to this Russian doping doctor that was at the time, I think, pretty much the highest in his game. And so he became, kind of beholden to this guy, and then at the same time, this whole doping scandal is getting found out, and his doctor is on the run constantly because he's ousted the Russian government for their doping program during the Olympics. and talking about how they switch samples and all of the stuff to make his athletes appear clean. And so it becomes this whole doping scandal movie in addition to what it was. It's a very intense watch, and it's pretty wild when you start to understand how much actually went on as far as Russia. Russia, their whole concept was win by all means.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild.
To be honest, I don't think that's really any different than any of the highest level teams or athletes out there these days.
No, as we've talked about before, I think when you get to that top tier level, everybody's doing everything they can possibly get by with.
Yeah, I saw a shorter documentary. Is one of those YouTubes, Inside Crime or How Crime Works, sort of thing. And it was the guy from Balco, and it was a 20 or 30 minute documentary, YouTube documentary, and this is how they did everything. This is how they did it for FloJo and all the high end athletes in the 90s and the early 2000s, and it just further convinced me. No, I am not making accusations of it against anyone specifically.
Yeah, but it happens.
I think it's safe to say that the whole peloton of the Lance era was doping, and I wouldn't, so it was a competition of who's the best doper, basically,
or who's the sneakiest.
Maybe, and the best way to position it is I wouldn't be shocked if that's the current case still.
Yeah. So do you think Pogačar is doping?
I'm not gonna name any names, but if it came out that
nobody's gonna come after you. I'm just saying, because the numbers that he threw down, the numbers that Vindigo threw down this year, they're astounding.
They don't make sense,
especially as small as those guys are and as much power as they make.
That's what I'm saying. If the doping and cheating technology was so good in 2000, can you only imagine what it is 25 years later?
I mean, yeah.
With all of the technology that's at our fingertips now.
Yeah. So the one that's on my radar, and not to be, a full-blown conspiracy theorist, but I wonder, I'm still listening to the mechanical doping podcast that I told you about.
Yeah.
Ghost in the Machine, which is a good listen. Very inconclusive, and just like you, they're not specifically pointing fingers and calling anybody out, but they're basically making the case of how easy it is to mechanical dope in a pro Peloton situation, especially. It seems ironic.
The bike swaps.
Well, the larger the event, it's seemingly easier, especially with the bike swaps, because the only thing that happens, from my understanding, and I could be completely wrong, but the bike that they're going to start the stage with is the one that gets tested, because it takes a while, because now they're putting them in a full-blown X-ray machine
or MRI or whatever
and then
it is.
If you win the stage, then they check your bike. But if you're 11th place and you finish with the pack, your bike doesn't get tested. So theoretically, you could do a bike swap. Oh, I had a mechanical, and you could ride back into the pack, sit on the back of the pack, get the same finishing time as the rest of the pack, and not have to worry about it. That's just the way I understand it. I could be wrong, but I think it happens a lot more.
It's a theoretical viability.
Yeah. I think in most people's brain it happens 0% of the time, and I'm just here to say that it happens more than that.
Lack of evidence is not evidence.
That's true.
I'm not poo-pooing the concept of mechanical doping by any stretch of the imagination, but let's see some examples of it before I buy into that theory.
Well, when you get bored, listen to that podcast.
I've listened to pieces of it.
Okay.
So the whole Lance era doping, there were instances of people getting caught. There were,
Yeah.
we knew it was happening.
Well, Contador got caught in that same, or maybe that was after.
That was after.
Yeah,
that was
he got busted with
basically everybody.
clenbuterol.
That's my point. Everybody got busted.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well, if I recall correctly, when Lance finally got popped and they stripped him of his jersey, they had to go like 19 spots
Something
before they found someone with a
was
clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think, you know, if you game any system, if there's if there's a prize to be won and the competition is stiff enough, people are going to figure out how to game it.
Well, and that was kind of the point of the Balco documentary. He was like, you know, the Olympic Committee wants this stuff to happen. UCI wants this stuff to happen because that's what gets people, knocking home runs every inning.
Oh, dude, that did amazing. I would be curious to know what the viewership went to in the Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and Canseco era when they all got super jacked and were just. I mean, you tuned in to see home runs. You know, it was a home run era. You know, and then everybody's dreams got poo-pooed when they found out that they were all jacked. But unpopular opinion, I think we should have a doping Olympics where it's just.
Well, there's some guy in Australia that's doing that this year.
Oh, really?
I think so. Or
I remember hearing about
was
that.
Attempting to, or something along those lines.
I mean, we can either deny that it's happening or we can embrace it and do it with science.
I mean, so I don't disagree with the concept, but it turns into just more of the same ultimately. So you're going to say, well, doping is allowed under this structure, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say it would be reasonable for everyone to go in a scientifically clinical safe way.
Yeah.
Or something that approximates it.
Yeah.
That's
under a doctor's guise and following a specific regimen.
So that's the box.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to go outside the box.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if cheating is no longer cheating, then someone has to find a way to cheat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get it.
Then it becomes F1.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I feel like, who was the guy that they called him Blade Runner that
he's still in prison, right?
Yeah, but he had the springs on his leg,
right.
And he was like one of the fastest guys. Didn't he win an Olympic medal like that?
A Paralympic medal.
Yeah, but I mean that's essentially mechanical doping at that point. I mean, the technology is what allowed him to be so fast. I mean, granted, he had to lose his legs in order to get that technology, but it's still a mechanical advantage when you're able to put energy into the system and it give it back to you in a spring mechanism like that.
No, I don't dispute that. And hey, let's bring it back to cycling.
Let's do it.
And that's
speaking of mechanical doping.
Speaking of mechanical doping, so we have an e-bike in our presence today. But me as an event promoter, one of the things that I have been presented with by air quotes potential participants for the past several years is, well, why we need e-bike racing. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have enough experience now with e-bikes. Putting that bike side by side with my tributary in a gravel race, it's
not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I get that from a promoter standpoint. Like, well, here's a prime example. Shannon and Glenn, when we were in Mina, they were on identical bikes, identical batteries, both with a battery, what was it? Battery extender?
The range extender. Range extender.
But Shannon has the ability, and Glenn does too. I just don't think Glenn, and I may be misspeaking, but I don't think Glenn had tuned his bike. So Shannon, and I'm going to get all this wrong, but Shannon's bike was originally 60-watt bike or 60 kilowatt bike, I think is the number. And they did an update, a firmware update that effectively made it an 85 kilowatt bike. So
When you say they, the bike manufacturer or
Yeah.
a jailbreak?
no. It was all above board and
Okay,
with
okay. No, I'm
the
just
manufacturer. But then on top of that, he has, through the app, you can go through and on all your modes, I don't know what modes there was, but like eco, trail, and boost, let's just call it those
Right,
three.
right.
You can go in and set your parameters on all three of those, like what your peak wattage is, how fast it ramps up, blah, blah, blah. So
Sure.
effectively, you could make your eco your boost. It could show eco on your bike, but you could.
But it's performing at boost level.
You could be performing at boost level. And I only say that just to say, like, between those two bikes, one of them was way faster, way stronger, had more power on tap immediately, only because of the parameters that were set up in the app that were communicating with the bike. So I said all of that just to say, even if you had, if you did it F1 style, which would never fly, but everybody has to have the same bike, well, people are still going to game that system.
Sure,
they're
sure.
going to tune them. So that being said, if you had a fleet of e-bikes or a whole group of e-bike people that show up, they're never going to be equally matched. Even taking the rider out of the situation, the bikes are not going to be on a level playing field.
Oh, I agree, and that's what I've been saying That's
Yeah.
what I've been saying, and the funny part about it is it's the people that make these arguments. They have no intention of racing. They're just trying to stir the pot.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah.
They're trying to create controversy most of the time.
I appreciate a good pot stirrer.
That can be fun, but
You remember back in the day, Colonels used to host a ride on a weekly basis that was called, I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was a same gear ride. Everybody rode single speed, and they all rode the exact same gear.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
I don't dispute it.
Yeah.
Maybe before my time or something. I was just
That was
never
the
involved.
closest thing to like a true, like, level playing field ride.
And that's kind of where I was going
Yeah.
from the e-bike argument.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I have come back with, well, so how do we limit this? Oh, it can only be class 1. Well, even all class 1 e-bikes are not created equal.
Yeah.
So we're not, and then you try to have that discussion, and it gets turned. Well, that's no different than somebody that spends $10,000 on a Zoot traditional bicycle versus somebody that's $2,000. It's the difference in their budget, but it's not, because
It's not. You still have to power it.
yes,
Yeah.
it's still 90% of what happens on that bicycle is the motor,
Yeah.
and 90% of what happens on that bicycle is the motor.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pointing at the e-bike now for those
Yeah.
that aren't watching this. So ultimately, on a traditional bicycle, the majority of the accomplishment is the rider.
Yeah. I mean,
And
there are-
anybody that says that the majority of the e-bike is the rider, hey, I can tell you that's not the case. And our ride last night is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. Because you were happy as a pig in shit last night, and I was struggling a couple of times. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a time and point where there's e-bike races, and somebody's going to figure out.
I don't know that there is.
Well, right now, I know they have e-enduro.
That's a different situation.
Yeah, but they still have pedal sections where you have to make it from point A to point B, and that section's timed, and it's an uphill. But I think at that point it just begins. You have to manage your battery.
Okay, and maybe that's the way it's structured, but that's also something that when battery technology goes to that next level, that becomes a moot segment as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a way to cheat batteries right now, for example. The technology is just not there to cheat the battery.
That's fair.
So if you want to cheat on the battery, that just means you have to carry 15 pounds more weight of battery.
Yeah.
So is it worth the trade-off?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there will be e-bike races that are more like motorcycle races than bicycle races, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so if we go motorized, so how do the, I'm not, you have the 250cc, you have the 500cc. So when you go to that level, then they have guidelines around the jetting for the carburetors and everything else like that as well, correct?
Yeah.
And I believe there's a minimum weight involved. Maybe I'm mistaken there. Obviously, when you start getting into car racing, there's minimum weights that are involved in things like that.
Yeah.
I think probably when we get to that next level of technology for the e-bikes, maybe you'll see more like motocross type racing as opposed to cross. That's my guess.
But you're talking about like not pedal assist at that point, right? You're talking about like the Surons and stuff.
Maybe. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. So we're back to, it doesn't make sense to race e-bikes at North Shore, at a class 3 e-bike at North Shore. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, it does to somebody. Somebody can rationalize it.
Somebody can rationalize it, but from a practical standpoint, no, it does not make sense.
Right.
If you get 50 people on class 3 e-bikes going through North Shore, somebody's going to get hurt.
Oh.
Badly.
Yeah, you're going to need 3 times the amount of
so
emergency crew.
The only way to make that work is dedicated courses to that higher speed.
Yeah.
Like BMX or pump tracks or motocross or something in between. That's the only, that in my mind, that's the only way you can see e-bike racing actually work somewhere down the road. And I don't think there's a demand for that.
I feel like it's inevitable.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But again, what would make it happen would be that next level of technology, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Where everything is somewhat, because everything's so scattered across the board right now. But if we get to the technology level where 5 pounds of battery are going to give you all day power no matter what, so the battery's not part of the equation, the weight of the battery's not part of the equation, and then everybody can agree that 1,000 watts, that's our limit. No more than 1,000 watts if you're doing this type of racing. And
man, I just want to keep it simple. I just want to ride my bike.
I understand, and that's what I'm saying.
I want to go back to just worrying about how I fuel.
It's more. It makes more sense just to
keep it simple.
Race traditional bikes.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know this is going to come out afterwards, but you have Midnight Massacre this Saturday.
I do.
Starts at 7 p.m.
Correct.
What's the attendance look like so far? The weather
200-ish.
Yeah. That's a good crowd, huh?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. And we really haven't been, for multiple reasons, really haven't been pushing it this year. We're just letting it kind of organically do its thing.
But this is the mini Midnight Massacre, or what? What is it?
It's the regular Midnight. Well, we're calling it the Midnight Mash this year. That's kind of out of respect to Valley View and the Tornado folks there.
Yeah.
And we will be going. I verified the route on Monday, and it's amazing what those tornadoes did. And we will be going through some of that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was more appropriate just to kind of downplay the name a little bit.
Yeah. What's the 55-mile course look like?
55-mile course looks fun.
Yeah.
It's got some interest. It's got Wade Road in the mix.
Oh, I love me some Wade Road.
So here's my wild card.
Okay.
Here's my wild card. I think I'm going to ride in it this year myself.
On the e-bike?
On the Tributary.
Okay.
Yeah.
You going to do the 55?
That's what I'm tossing. I would really love to do Wade Road.
Yeah.
I would really, but I'm playing with it. I don't know. I'm going to do at least the 40-miler.
I've got to talk to my wife, but I think I want to show up and do it. But here's where I get torn. You know,
Okay.
I have a standing ride on Sunday where we have garage coffee in the morning, and then we ride. So, I mean, I want to go up there and do the 50-miler, 55-miler.
Okay.
But I also want to ride on Sunday because Sunday's my fun ride.
I get it.
You know, so
I get it.
But I've got to even see if I have availability. I do not have a dinner this weekend, so I'm free and clear that way. But I don't know. I would like to go. I haven't done an organized event in quite some time.
Organized
I understand.
is generous.
I was extending the benefit of the doubt. It's still an organized group ride. I mean,
no, it is.
You know,
it is.
You put together routes, you announce it, you set a start time. You know, people are signing up. It's a real deal.
So the benefit of doing the 40 miler is you will get to Whiskey Hollow before they close. The 55 miler you probably won't.
Yeah, that's fine.
I understand.
I have plenty of whiskey.
I understand. I understand.
I would like to check that place out, though. The place I really want to go to is Iron Root in Denison. That distillery.
We'll have to do that then.
Yeah. They turn out some pretty good whiskey. So, what does the weather look like for Saturday?
Last I saw, hot.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But, 7 o'clock, that's what we ran into last night. That's when it starts cooling down nicely.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
And the wind died down a little bit.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. It was pretty pleasant coming back from East Side. I wasn't miserable on the way there, but
yeah,
it was noticeably hot on the way there, which made it feel pleasant on the way back.
I have 99 on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Or Saturday, I'm sorry.
I was showing 102 on mine the other day, but shit changes. So what okay. Let's look at this from a training plan perspective. Mm-hmm. What does your Sunday ride typically look like? How does that, how many hours, how intense, yada yada yada? What is that? What's the norm?
Man, I hate to be so elusive, but it really depends on who shows up. You know, who's here, how froggy everybody feels. Mm-hmm. If we have if we have some newer people show up, and if there's only 2 or 3 people that show up, then it tends to be a lot more casual. If there's, just like I do, if there's 10 people lined up on a bike, it's going to get spicy.
Right. Right. Because somebody's going to feel froggy.
Yeah. This past Sunday, which was probably one of my favorite rambles that we've done, we did a lot of exploration. We went through quite a bit of water but everything was fruitful. We never had to turn around or anything. We ended up with 45 miles. But we also stopped at East Side and had a couple of beers, and I'd say it's typically a casual ride, but we try to ride a little bit of everything. An extended version of what we showed you yesterday. Mm-hmm. We try to stay out of traffic as much as we can, but we also try to hit every surface you can,
sure.
Whether it's double track or single track or sometimes even footpath or whatever, and cut throughs and all kinds of stuff. So I could go out and casually ride 55 miles Saturday night and come straight home and go to sleep and probably be good,
And that's what my suggestion is. That would actually be excellent training. Mm-hmm. From the discipline yourself to just ride your heart rate Saturday evening.
Yeah.
Log your mileage. Get your butt a little sore. Get your back a little sore. Whatever else.
My butt's like a well-honed saddle at this point.
I understand that. We're talking for the folks that are listening.
Yeah.
And get you as good of a night of sleep as you can, but then get up in the morning and do it again. That's the back-to-back ride like that, longer ride.
Yeah.
But the training part is can I discipline myself to ride at the right level?
Yeah.
Both days.
I think I can.
I know you can. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But to reinforce that and to do it, and then at the end of the day, Sunday, if you go, this feels off. Maybe that tells you something that an adjustment you need to make in the bike or something like that, or maybe I'm not as trained up as I thought. Or I feel great.
Yeah.
It helps you identify where you are at your fitness level, at that sort of thing.
Speaking of fitment on the bike, I did make an adjustment about 4 or 5 days ago. My saddle was squeaking, and I took my saddle. I didn't take my saddle off, but I took the clamps off. Saddle stayed right where it was, and then I greased my rails and put my clamps back on because I have an Ericsson, so it just has the side clamps. Mm-hmm. And then I marked my seat posts, and I cleaned it and cleaned inside and greased, and I put my seat post back in, and I left it up maybe a quarter of an inch, just because I've been thinking, I think my saddle's too low, and I'm wondering if that's why I'm not feeling as powerful. What are you looking at?
A bug on the wall there.
Oh. So that's one of the things that's been in my head.
You bring up a point.
Mm-hmm.
How old is that Erickson? How long have you been riding that? And that's the post you were on last night?
Yep. Probably 6 years.
So, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but you started talking about that, and it reminded me when I did glance at some of that footage that we watched last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching our first run down here after we got off Country Club, and there was a lot of movement in that seat post.
Oh, that's the way I like it, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, that's one of... So, everybody's bike philosophy is different.
And I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying, but that can, yeah.
Well, so, if you look at just the numbers on a chart, I should be on an extra large bike. Most people will tell you, like, if I was the guy that didn't know how I like my bikes, and I walked into bike store, big box bike store, they would go, you need an extra large.
Sure.
I, off the shelf, prefer a large bike because I know how I like to ride. I like more seat posts because I want my bike to be a little bit more flickable. I like to be able to put my bike where I want it. And I also like to run a layback seat post, and I love a titanium seat post. So all of those things partnered together, I get a lot of active suspension out of my seat post, and it's intentional.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, just like Bob on the front end, Bob on the seat post can...
Yeah.
That can zap a
Rob
little power.
A little power. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, let's be fair. That Fargo's no race machine, anyways.
Right.
But I'm going to forego efficiency for comfort 9 times out of 10, unless it just doesn't make any sense.
I agree 1,000%. Yeah.
Like the guys that I know there's a million of them out there in the world, but a Thompson seat post makes 0 sense to me because it is literally the most harsh seat post you can ride. I mean, it's CNC'd aluminum.
Yeah.
And it sends everything right to your ass. It makes no sense. I also run titanium rails on my saddle too because it's way more comfortable and it's lighter, So to me, it's a comfort thing.
Well, if your goal is flexing your seat post, you are definitely accomplishing.
I'd be interested to see that footage because I've never, obviously I don't notice it when I'm riding.
Sure.
But it is by design, legit. It's not a happenstance or a happy little accident.
And I'm not implying there's anything wrong with it. I was just saying that is something that will affect efficiency. But what is efficient? If you're more comfortable after 3 hours and you're able to go 4 hours, ultimately that's more efficient. Whereas if you're uncomfortable after 3 hours and I'm done, where is that line for efficiency?
Yeah. Well, my brain wins that battle most of the time, anyways. So, but I'm very happy with my Fargo the way it's set up. I mean, it's one of the most comfortable bikes I've ever had. I mean, it's my go-to bike. I've done every ride I've done in the past 30 days has been on that Fargo, other than our excursion to Mina where it was exclusively e-bike. But I mean, even when I'm just leaving out of the garage to go do a literal road loop where I'm on the road the entire time, I'm on my Fargo. Because that's
how much saddle time did you have in Mina? How many days of riding and how many?
We rode 3 days. I don't know. I might have had 7 hours, 8 hours.
Okay.
And that may be a stretch.
I understand.
It was at least 6 hours.
But also keep in mind. even though it's an e-bike,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of time on a different platform than what you usually ride.
You know what's funny is I could have closed my eyes other than it being a flat bar.
Right.
I could have closed my eyes and the fit was almost dead nuts on. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, but there's still nuances.
There's
I get
nuances.
It, yeah.
Well, like probably that seat post doesn't flex like what you're used to, and just.
But it was a full suspension, so
I understand.
A lot.
The point I'm trying to make is that much. Let's call it 7 hours of changed riding on your body.
Yeah.
You're going to have a little bit of a hangover effect on that.
That's fair.
Would contribute to I'm feeling a little off or not quite there, sort of thing. That could contribute as well. And again, we're back to the the whole fitness and training thing. It's like making a stew.
Yeah.
Or if
bolognese
or soup or something like that. It's the critical part is the base that you're working with. You got to have that stock, that base in place, and what you do from there, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it works it out. Or you can start from scratch and just bring everything to a full boil, and well, it'll be cooked, but it's going to be bland and tough and not really accomplish anything. So just a nice simmer. Just a nice simmer. Give it some love, and you give it a little stir every once in a while. That's your resting ride. It's just a little stir, and after that, give it a taste. Oh, we need a pinch of that, a dash of that.
So what is Kevin Lee working up to? Because you've been riding quite a bit, and you started out exclusively on the e-bike, correct? When you were getting back to your everyday riding?
I kind of yes, kind of no. Started on the e-bike. I'm using the e-bike as a crutch to not overstress my knees at the moment and build up that stock, that solid base.
Yeah.
So that August 14th will be end of my first 6-week block that I'm working on. And that's just to set that base and find out things, if this knee's not working right or it's going strong.
But you rode the analog bike last Tuesday, correct?
So the whole 6 weeks, the intent was to include, I don't like analog, traditional bicycle riding.
Amish bike.
Traditional.
Okay.
I don't like Amish bike.
Human powered.
Traditional.
Okay.
To include those rides here and there, just to see what, as a kind of a gauge of does this overstress the knee or not? But part of that was the some of the training sessions utilizing the indoor bike as well, because that's basically traditionally powered. So that's why I'm saying the whole time I've been doing some of that, a ride or two a week, but the whole point is just to establish the 10 hours a week of riding at 130 beats per minute base.
Yeah.
And that's the focus for the first 6 weeks. And then the second 6 weeks will be focusing on trying to adjust the diet to work within that as well and lose weight.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm not focusing on losing weight. Hopefully, it's a byproduct of what I'm doing.
Sure.
But that's not the focus. And that'll be the focus of the second 6 weeks, is to maintain still that 10 hours and 130-ish beats per minute base, and start working on a nutrition plan that helps me start expanding that base while still losing weight. Because I could go out and I could hammer out intensity in miles right now and hours in the saddle, but
you're just going to put yourself in a deficit.
Well, no, it's going to go the other way. It's like I'm going to be hungry and I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
So I have to find a way to ride and not eat as much at the same time, and that's a balancing act.
Or just eat better.
No, I'm doing that.
I watched you eat a bag of Fritos last night.
That was my salt.
Okay.
That was my salt.
There's better ways.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
But that was my grab some salt
Yeah.
and have it there. So no, I'm not eating perfectly right now.
Yeah.
But I'm eating better.
Yeah.
So
Better's relative, but yeah.
well, I mean, it wasn't a slice of cheesecake, right?
That's true. That's true. Oh, those slice of cheesecake would have been nice.
It would have been. It would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that too. But like, last night I had a snack. I had some nuts and some dried mangoes before I went to bed, you know. I just find if I have a snack before I go to bed, it makes me sleep a lot better.
That tiny little insulin spike
Yeah.
to push you right to sleep,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Good stuff.
again, and then hypothetically, at the end of that second 6 weeks block,
We're going to be in great weather.
we're going to be in great weather, and we'll be rolling into the rat.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Rats on my radar for next year.
Understood. And Tour Divide the year after.
That's
You've committed to it already.
That is
so.
the long-term goal and plan. But this year, I'm trying to get ramped up for BT Epic. That's part of why I started riding every day.
When's that?
October 19th.
Okay.
So when I hit my second 6-week block, shit, I'm about to be there. I'm going to start doing longer rides on a regular basis and still keep my heart rate kind of the same, but start mixing some intensity in. But I'm going to start doing rides from here to North Shore.
I was thinking about that last night. It's probably, and particularly if something like that's on your to-do list, your bucket list, and since you had a pretty strong base going into this 6-week block of your riding every day.
I wouldn't say I did, but
I mean, you've got years of established base. It doesn't just disappear.
yeah.
And if you're still
It's
riding,
easier to tap back into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so after your 6-week base block that you just did, this would actually be a good time for you to shift to polarized, which, I mean, you're probably already doing anyway, but to get more formal with it, nice.
That's what my Strava looks like for the past.
There you go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So
I'm in my 6th week right now.
So what you may want to very consciously do for the next 6-week block, and whether it's Sunday, whether it's Tuesday, or a little bit of both sort of thing, take one of those days and make a point just to throw it down.
Yeah.
Just give it everything you got. The rest of the week, stick with your base.
Yeah.
And if the rest of the week, some of those rides turn from 90-minute rides to 2-hour rides, or hour rides to 90-minute rides,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Just a bonus. Yeah.
But don't focus on trying to get more time. Focus on 80-20 polarity,
Yeah.
where 20% is high intensity
Yeah.
and 80% is just working on your base.
Yeah.
And that should be a really good, that would be a really good setup going into October for you.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So.
So Brad's going to own the Sunday rides going forward.
No. It's funny though. I think it's funny just because I know all the players involved. I signed up for BT Epic, and then BT Epic started soliciting for sweepers. And Mike Baker tagged me like I'd be interested in sweeping. And I commented and I said, respectfully, fuck you. And the best part about all of it was BT Epic came back and liked my comment.
What kind of shape's Baker in these days?
I don't know. He's in I'm about to get married shape. So he's I don't know. For his birthday, they went and rode. They did the 60-mile ride. I think it was a roadie type ride, but looked like they put down a pretty decent time.
Okay.
So And then I think he did goat neck. I know that Baker's got legs and lungs. He's a strong rider. But I haven't ridden with shit. I haven't seen that guy in probably 6 months. So
he seems to be preoccupied.
yeah, he's happy.
Which is happy is good.
Happy is very good.
Happy is very good.
Speaking of happy, I'm excited to ride my bike today.
I am too.
Seems like the wind might be calming down a little bit, but it's probably just lulling us into a false sense of.
Oh, we'll be fine.
Scary.
Actually, what I have in mind, the tailwind wouldn't be a bad thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Now since we are kind of talking about the confluence a little bit, did you get that email from?
I did. Let me pull it up real quick because I don't want to misquote.
Because
this young lady.
I would like to respond to it. We did receive an email. I'm in the same. I would prefer to not misquote the email, but I
Saturday. Here it is. It came from Kevin Lee.
Well, it probably has my name on it, but it is the shiftlesslive@gmail.com account.
Oh, okay. No, you sent it to Shiftless Live.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you sent it from Shiftless Live. Okay. Either way.
All right.
So this is from Emily Woodhall. Love that girl. Hey guys, love the podcast. Yes, even I listen, not just Shane. At the start of this episode, you mentioned the new tributary and confluence keeping Jan and Kevin together. You know what else would keep them together? A tandem. Though I feel like Kevin might be too particular to share a bike with someone, LOL. Not going to disagree with you there. Would not want to be stuck on a bike with Kevin. In all seriousness, if you do have a regular buddy you ride with, a great addition to our rides while on single bikes is the Milo walkie-talkie system. It's an open channel, no buttons to push, just talk. Best thing we ever bought for riding together so we can have a convo or he can hear me OTB on the South Moundy Trail and come back to my rescue. Check it out. And she sends a link. So I'm not familiar with this at all.
No, I'm not familiar with the Milo system, but it does sound interesting, and that's something that might be handy as well. Because Jan and I having a conversation on separate bikes, that is problematic.
Yeah.
Her hearing is in windy conditions is less than ideal for whatever reasons.
Well,
but here's I want to address this, Emily. You're working on the assumption that Jan and I have not had a tandem together. I can assure you, I attempted that. And no, it was not Kevin that did not buy into the tandem. That does not work for my lovely bride whatsoever.
I think riding a tandem is only akin to assembling IKEA furniture with your spouse. They're equally frustrating, and both will test a relationship.
It will definitely test a relationship, but it doesn't mean if it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that the relationship doesn't work. It just means you have found something that is a no-go for that relationship. Yeah. It's only going to make it worse. The funny part of it was, though the tandem didn't work for Jan and myself, and it makes perfect sense to me, because Jan wants to be driving the bus. And I would have no problem with that, except the configuration of that tandem was the captain's end was too big for her.
Yeah.
So we couldn't have made it work. But the lovely byproduct of that was that my daughter enjoyed being the stoker, and so we would go out on the tandem.
So for those just listening that aren't familiar with the tandem, there are two positions on a traditional tandem bike. There's the front rider and
the captain,
and then there's the back rider, the stoker. Okay.
Thank you.
Just to clue everybody in.
Good point.
So the captain's steering the boat, so to speak, is applying the brakes and turning the ship, and then also providing powder, changing the gears,
yep. And properly communicating with the stoker as well.
Yeah. So we're turning left or shifting down or car up, car back. So I could see that adds a whole nother layer of riding. I mean, and I'm way too selfish for that. I don't think I could function in either of those roles.
Well, like I say, riding an e-bike is just a completely different experience from riding a traditional bike.
Yeah.
Riding a tandem is a completely different
I
experience from
can
riding a traditional.
Only imagine.
And I did not dislike it. I would with the right stoker. It would probably be tough for me to be a stoker, but
Yeah.
I can see an ideal situation where it could work.
And what would be an ideal ride for a tandem?
Man,
I know that Gary from Race Ready Repair has a tandem, and him and his wife, I think it's Mandy,
that's yes.
they come and do some of your gravel events on a tandem. They have is it a powder keg?
I think that's what they used to have.
Isn't that Salsa's tandem?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I could see like a long gravel event would be a lot of fun.
I would enjoy that.
Yeah.
Again with the right riding partner, I would love to attempt a multi-day gravel thing on. I wouldn't, probably not 1,000 miles. Not the rat. But man,
you would grow tired of each other pretty quick.
No
matter how likable that person is.
I think a long weekend, 3 days of riding would be a very, very interesting adventure.
Yeah.
But it would have to be the right person. There's no way you can't just, I'm going to ride with this person for a long weekend this way. I mean, there's some people that could do that. I'm not one of those people.
You're going to figure out who each other is pretty quick, I think.
there's no doubt about that. But I mean, along those lines, I'm thinking out loud now. That would be a tandem bike would be an interesting bike packing setup.
Yeah, I've seen it done before.
That would be
think of all the bags you could put on there.
That's what it's like.
Think of all the hydration you can carry.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. Wow, I'm actually kind of fascinated now.
And if I'm not correct, well, if I'm thinking about it right, I think Shane and Emily have a mountain bike tandem.
I believe so. Yes.
And I want to say that I believe that they did Judgment Day on said tandem years ago.
Shane, Emily, let us know.
I may be misremembering, but I believe so. But still, just riding a mountain bike on any trail, I mean, just the easiest of trails has to prove to be complicated.
Oh, I can't, I'll be honest with you, I can't comprehend doing a tandem on single track.
Yeah.
Myself. I can't wrap my head. That would be instant divorce for Jan and myself if we tried to do single track on a tandem. There's not a chance in hell our marriage would survive that.
I mean, I'm trying to think of what would be the easiest trail to take a tandem on, because even if you remove
Denton Mountain Bike Trail.
Okay, that is a perfect candidate. Because I was thinking, like, even if you remove any technical aspects,
can you imagine trying to
turns
River Legacy on a tandem?
No.
I mean, I know they've done it.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's
well, but I mean, we're taking things almost full circle. What's the term? The assisted riders, the disability assistance rider, those trails.
I know what you're talking about.
And what's the damn term?
I can't remember now.
Oh, and I feel bad. But I mean, that was some of our first episodes. We were talking about some of those issues with the trails related to it, where they have to have a wide enough apex so that they can go around it.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Minimum width and all that.
Exactly. Those types of trails would probably be a good place to get tandem familiar anyway, would be my guess. But that's just a guess. I know it's. I know there's a regular batch of single track tandem riders out there, but it's by no means the norm.
Yeah,
by
definitely not.
any stretch.
Definitely not.
But yeah, I would love to have an off-road capable tandem that I could take anywhere and somebody to ride with that was a good partner for that. But my wife has made it abundantly clear she is not that partner.
Yeah, I get that. I wanted to ask you before we get off of this, though.
Sure.
Is 27.5 dead?
As far as I'm concerned, it is. I haven't seen much to...
It never fails when I'm looking, because I have a habit of looking on Facebook Marketplace on the regular. And it never fails when I see a really good deal on a bike, and I'm talking about mountain bikes, that it's a 27.5.
It's that and 650B seem to be a deal breaker because we've got that Chumba Terlingua of Jan's that we've been trying to sell for a couple of years, and it's a fantastic bike.
Yeah.
Set up fantastically, except it has 650B wheels on it.
Yeah.
And that's a deal breaker for people.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Well, I mean, somebody my size does not want to be on a wheel that small. And I get it that it's...
Well, it's a smaller bike. It's not a U-size bike.
No, I get that. But I'm saying, like, for me, I don't want to be on a 27.5, and I don't want to be on a 650B. That's part of the reason I was so excited to get away from 26ers and get to a 29er, is it just fit me so much better. You know, and all the aspects of bigger, you know, contact patch and, you know, all that stuff and rotational. And I mean, all those arguments are valid as well, but just, it's the first time I've ever been on a bike and I didn't feel like I was sitting on top of the bike. I feel like I'm in the cockpit.
In the bike.
Yeah.
You're in between the gyros.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, and they're, yeah, I mean, that's the realistic effect of what a properly fit bicycle should feel like.
And I never felt like that on a 26er. I mean,
but it's also almost nobody did.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, and so prior to 26-inch wheels, it was 28s were the norm, right? Whatever the actual old measurement for the old-timey bike wheels was.
Yeah.
And for various reasons, the industry for mountain bikes went to the 26-inch wheel. Keep in mind, I mean, how long did it take? It took 10 years realistically for 29ers to get dialed in on geometry and...
Oh, yeah, there was definitely a learning curve.
And we went the same direction with the gravel bikes, too. It was almost 10 years from the first gravel bikes before they got locked into what this is how the geometry needs to work and everything like that.
Yeah.
This is where the bottom bracket needs to be. And 29ers are dialed in. Gravel bikes are dialed in. It's just incremental shifts now. Sure. And both of them have bypassed 27.5 and 650B, in my opinion. And I don't think that's an industry contrivance. It's not some great conspiracy to eliminate 27.5. There was never any valid reason for 27.5 as far as I'm concerned.
I think it was just going into a niche that really didn't need to be filled. I think
it was somebody trying to make 26-inch stuff work that much longer, a little bit longer.
So back to the Mina e-bike trip, Thornton's bike is set up what they call a mullet.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of the higher end, real deal, the enduro
bro
style e-bikes are set up mullet. I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
So it's a 29 up front and a 27.5 out back. Which I guess if the bike's built for that, it wouldn't affect the geometry, but it it was something that until I heard him say that, it had never even occurred to
What
me.
what is the logic behind that? What is the reasoning to? I know it is a thing, but I don't know the whys and the wherefores.
We didn't get into it, but immediately I think, well, a 27.5 is less to spin up on the rear.
That's my guess.
It's-
I'm thinking that's all e-bike acceleration is all that is.
It's, I mean,
I mean
I don't know.
that's how the 27.5ers always justified their traditional 27.5. Oh, the spin up and acceleration is so much better. Maybe it is.
Yeah, but once you get that 29er rolling, whoo, she's happy.
Exactly.
She's happy.
But we're back to, I think you and I come from cycling's a niche upon a niche upon a niche.
It is.
The longer, most people that do ride bikes, most people that are in this niche don't want to ride for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Most people want to ride 90 minutes or less, 60 minutes or less,
Yeah.
generally speaking. So, what makes sense to us, where our logic comes from, it doesn't line up with the person that's going out, particularly on an e-bike, once or twice a week for an hour,
Right.
sort of thing.
Well, speaking of wheel sizes and tires and stuff, I don't know if I mentioned this on the last podcast, but when we rode up and we came to the guys that were jumping, one of the guys was on a BMX bike, and I made a comment, man, I can't believe you're hitting these on 20-inch. And he goes, oh, no, it's a 22-incher. And I didn't even know that animal existed.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
So on a BMX bike...
No, the jumpers.
Oh, so when we were riding at Ward Lake, we rode the climb trail the very first time, and there was 2 guys up there that were trail workers that were done for the day.
Okay. All right. I remember.
And
what
they
you're
were just
referring
sessioning, and the guy was on a 22-inch BMX bike, which, like I said, I didn't even know that was a thing. But like I said, I wouldn't have known had I not heard it there, you know?
Right.
But apparently it's a deal, and the whole thing behind that is the same thing. They want just a slightly bigger wheel, and it smooths things out, So,
Okay.
like I said, I'd never even heard of it. So when I was growing up, BMX was a big deal, and it was, 20-inch was the full-blown, and then they came up, I don't know what year it started, but they started a cruiser class.
Yeah, the cruiser.
And that was a 24-inch.
That was 24, right?
So now you have a 22-inch.
I guess that's where I was. So what's the advantage of a 22 over a 24? I can understand something bigger than a 20.
Yeah.
Or what's the disadvantage of the 24?
Well, and that's where I was going.
Yeah.
Is the 20-inch is akin to the 26.
Yeah.
And the 24 is akin to a
29er.
And the 22
is a 27.5.
27.5. So it's, I just did a quick search, and I've only found 2 22-inch BMX bikes, but I didn't look really hard.
I understand. And maybe, I can buy into this philosophy. Maybe he's just one of those guys that I don't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah. And it had a rear disc brake on it too, which was interesting.
Is that not the norm for BMX these days?
BMX bikes typically still run cantilevers.
Okay.
Rim brakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't shot BMX bikes in a while.
No, I wouldn't imagine you had. Nor have I, obviously.
So why is BMX still canty/rim versus disc at this point? Any idea? Is there an advantage in that discipline for those?
That I don't know. I'd have to ask.
Okay,
I'd have to ask somebody that was smarter than me and still kept up with BMX bikes.
Understood.
I think it's cost, weight. When you're trying to go fast, you don't really need brakes. But here's a Inspire Evo Pro Cruiser disc brake bike. I'm on Lux BMX, just looking at what they have, and that's the only disc brake bike I see on here.
Okay.
So,
and how is the BMX scene these days? Any idea?
that I don't know. I feel like, and maybe it's because I follow Will Black. that I see a lot of BMX footage. You know, BMX is still alive and well. That makes me wonder, is BMX in the Olympics this year? Let me go back real quick and see. We're just rambling about stuff.
Yeah, we can edit stuff.
Oh, you said that last time, and then I listened to the podcast, and you're literally going, "We'll just edit this out."
Because when I listen to it, it's like, you know what? This one actually sounds better not edited out. Just addressing that we should have gets the point across.
Apparently, yeah, BMX Olympic BMX racing champion Beth Shriver, my different pathway to Paris. Oh, maybe that. These are older articles, but
I think BMX is out. And that's what I was talking about earlier this episode. I think the bicycle disciplines and other sports, I think it's maybe Los Angeles 2028 that they're not included. So that might be the search to do.
When you say bicycle, though, I mean, there's a whole bunch of avenues there.
No, I understand, and that's what I was saying. They were going to take cross country out. That wasn't going to be part of the Olympics anymore.
For 2028.
I believe that's what I read. And that's what I need. When I was first thinking about it, is that they were talking about Paris, but it's like no, they wouldn't have been having a story about that this spring.
Yeah.
For that to be the case, so it's probably the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics.
Yeah.
And that actually makes more sense as well. And I think BMX was mentioned, and that was a big deal, that they're taking BMX out for the Los Angeles games when BMX is traditionally, if I understand correctly, fairly strong for the USA.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Seems weird that
I'm an idiot.
It seems weird that they would take a lot of Los Angeles centric sports out.
I think that my takeaway was that they're getting away from the X Games type stuff in the traditional Olympics. And so BMX still kind of falls into that, and they thought cross-country mountain bike did as well. But UCI convinced them that cross-country mountain bike should still be in the mix somehow. That's what I thought I read, but I'll dig into that a little bit deeper.
I wonder how the Olympic Committee comes to, I mean, because there's got to be...
It's all about sponsorship dollars.
Yeah, but if you think about the breadth of sports that are represented in the summer games, we still have, I'm sure there's still javelin throwing and shot put and discus and, or disc, is it
Discus.
Discus, that are
They're
ancient.
They're staples. They're traditional.
Right. But I'm saying, and then you have 100 different running events. You got the marathon. You got, I don't know, do they still do steeplechase style run? They've got hurdles and short distance sprints.
Understood. And power walking.
Yeah, it's just at some point you got to go. Okay, we can't have 375 events. Because you got to have qualifiers. You got to have semifinals and quarterfinals and finals and there's just hundreds of events that they've got to cull some of them.
And they got to make room for pickleball now. So,
is that really going to be an Olympic sport? Ping pong is, right?
It has been. Well, it has been. That has been for a long time.
As long as they don't take curling out of the Winter Olympics.
No,
okay.
Curling's the best sport of all of the Olympics.
I've been an avid curling watcher since I first discovered it when I was, 16 or something. I'm like, this is freaking cool. I love it.
So would you rather be the pitcher or the sweeper in curling?
Oh, I want to be the pitcher for sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I want to be the captain, not the snoker. Let's go ride our bikes.